A human boy was the only survivor. The Dragon Queen took him instead of her own egg. Comment below where you are watching from. A human boy ran through the forest, his small legs moving as fast as they could. The sky was dark and full of fire. Meteors rained down from above, crashing into the ground with loud explosions that shook the trees. Smoke filled the air, and the smell of burning wood and metal made his nose sting. He didn't know where his family was. He didn't know if anyone had survived. All he knew was that he had to keep moving. Eli, only 10 years old, was not strong, but he had something the others didn't. He never gave up. Every step he took was careful, avoiding fallen rocks and burning branches. Behind him, he could hear the distant roars of creatures he had never seen before. His heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break his chest. He knew he had to hide or he would be gone like everyone else. The colony he lived in was small. Humans were few on this planet, and they were considered weak by most of the alien races around them. They had built their homes in small domes, protected by shields and traps, but nothing could stop what was coming. Eli had seen the sky turn red before, but never like this. It was not just fire, it was chaos. He could see shadows moving fast, creatures flying with wings bigger than any bird he had ever imagined. He didn't know if they were friends or enemies. He only knew one thing: if he stopped, he would die. Eli tripped over a jagged rock and fell hard on his knees. Pain shot through his leg, but he forced himself to get up. He crawled behind a large boulder, breathing heavily. From his hiding place he could see the destruction all around him. Houses were broken, fires burned in every direction, and smoke filled the sky like a dark cloud that would never go away. He could hear people screaming, but those voices were quickly swallowed by the roaring chaos. And then he saw her. A huge shadow flying above the flames. Eli froze. His small heart skipped a beat. It was not like any creature he had seen before. Its wings stretched wide, black and strong, glinting in the firelight. Its body shimmered with scales that reflected the burning sky. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Eli didn't know why, but he felt his fear mix with curiosity. This was not a creature attacking randomly. It was watching. The shadow circled above, moving with grace and power. Eli wanted to run, but his legs felt frozen. The creature landed softly near the center of the destroyed village. He could see it clearly now. A dragon bigger than any building with eyes that glowed like molten gold. The boy wanted to scream, but no sound came. The dragon's gaze fell on him, and Eli felt like it was looking straight into his soul. It didn't move like a beast. There was intelligence there, something he could not explain. For a moment, everything else disappeared: the fire, the smoke, the screams. All Eli could feel was the dragon's presence. Then came the wind. The dragon spread its massive wings and flew closer. Eli stumbled back, falling behind the boulder again. He thought he was done for. But the dragon did something unexpected. It did not attack. It lowered its head and looked at him, tilting its glowing eyes with what seemed like curiosity. Eli's mind raced. Why wasn't it attacking? He was only a human boy. Humans were supposed to be weak. Everyone said humans could not survive on this planet without help. But here he was, alive, and the dragon, whatever it was not destroying him. The boy remembered the stories his grandfather used to tell him about dragons. They were wise, powerful, and sometimes cruel. But sometimes they could choose differently if something inside them felt something special. Eli didn't understand it yet, but he felt it. This dragon was choosing. And somehow he hoped it would choose him to live. The fire grew closer. He could hear trees snapping and rocks tumbling down hillsides. The screams of other humans, of creatures, of everything alive, filled the air. But Eli stayed behind the boulder, holding his breath, praying silently. He was just a boy, small and alone. He had no weapons, no shields, nothing. All he had was his courage. Then, without warning, a massive shadow passed over him, and the ground trembled as the dragon landed beside the boulder. Its hot breath brushed against his hair. Eli shut his eyes. He expected the end. But then, slowly, the dragon nudged him with its snout. A strange warmth spread through him. It was not the end. Somehow he was alive. Eli opened his eyes and looked up. The dragon lowered its head closer, as if inviting him to climb. His heart pounded with fear and excitement. He did not understand what was happening. He did not know if this was safety or danger. But something inside him told him this was his only chance to survive. With shaking hands and legs that felt like jelly, Eli reached out and touched the dragon's snout. The scales were warm, strong, and real. He looked into its golden eyes again. For the first time in hours he felt hope. Somehow, just somehow, he had been chosen to live. And in that moment, as fire raged behind them and the sky burned red, A human boy and a dragon shared the unlikeliest beginning of a story that would change everything. Eli's hands shook as he climbed onto the dragon's back. The scales were warm beneath his fingers, stronger than any stone he had ever touched. The dragon's wings stretched wide, covering the boy like a shadow, and then without warning, they lifted him into the sky. Wind whipped around him, pulling at his hair and clothes, but Eli held on tightly. Fear and excitement battled inside him. He had never flown before, and yet he felt alive. The dragon rose higher, and Eli could see the full destruction below. The human colony, once full of life, was now just smoke and rubble. Fires burned in small pockets, but most of the area was silent except for the roar of falling meteors. Eli felt a pang of sadness for the people he had lost, for the families who were gone. But he also felt a strange curiosity about the dragon carrying him. Why had it saved him? Why had it chosen him over the hundreds of others who had lived there? The dragon flew in silence for a while. Then, with a low rumble that sounded almost like speech, it spoke. Eli jumped back in shock. "You survived," the dragon said. Its voice was deep and smooth, echoing like rolling thunder. "That is unusual." Eli's mouth went dry. "Why, you can talk?" he stammered. "Yes," the dragon replied. "I am Zyra, the dragon queen of this region. And you are different from the others." Eli's eyes widened. "Dragon queen? But why me? Why not your egg?" He gestured vaguely to the sky, though he didn't expect Zyra to understand. Zyra tilted her massive head, her golden eyes studying him carefully. "I was preparing to raise my egg," she said. "It is normal. It will grow like any other dragon. But you," she paused, wings flicking slightly. "There is something in you that the egg does not have. You survive when others fall. You think when others panic. You fight without knowing how." Eli swallowed hard. He was small. Weak. A human. Yet the Dragon Queen was praising him? He felt a spark of hope mixed with disbelief. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "You don't need to say anything," Zyra replied. "You only need to survive. And I will make sure you do." For hours they flew across the burning land. The wind was cold and sharp, but Eli was learning. He held tightly to the ridges on Zyra's back, watching the ground below, watching the smoke rise like the breath of the world itself. Sometimes the dragon would lower closer to mountains or rivers, and Eli saw things he had never imagined: creatures with glowing eyes, forests that looked blackened but were still alive, rivers that shimmered like molten silver. Finally, Zyra began to descend. They landed in a valley hidden between jagged mountains. The valley was quiet, green, and untouched by the fire that had destroyed Eli's home. Birds, strange in shape and color, chirped cautiously at their arrival. The air was cool and smelled of wet earth. It felt safe. "You will stay here," Zyra said, nudging Eli gently. "It is hidden from the others. For now you are mine to protect and to teach." Eli looked around, trying to take it all in. The valley was beautiful, but he still didn't understand. "Teach me? Teach me what?" he asked. Zyra's eyes glimmered. "Everything a survivor must know. Strength, courage, wisdom, and maybe even more than dragons know. You are not just a human, Eli. You are something special." The boy's stomach twisted with a mix of fear and excitement. He had no idea how he could ever learn to be special. He had only survived. He had only run. And yet, somehow this dragon believed in him. That thought made his heart beat faster. Hours turned into days. Eli slept under Zyra's wing, learning how to move quietly, how to see danger before it came, and how to think even when his body screamed to run. Zyra watched him closely, correcting his mistakes, praising his successes. The small boy learned quickly. He had always been clever, but under the dragon's guidance he began to understand strategy, timing, and observation in ways he had never imagined. Other dragons came to the valley, curious about Zyra's choice. They circled above, eyeing Eli with suspicion. "Why save a human?" one asked, her wings slicing through the wind. "He is fragile. He is nothing compared to our eggs." Zyra's eyes flashed with golden fire. "Look at him," she said. "He survives where eggs do not. He learns where others fail. Strength is not only in size or scales. Do not underestimate him." The dragons hesitated. They had never seen a human do what Eli did. They had never seen someone so small, so fragile, yet so quick, so smart, so brave. Slowly they began to nod, murmuring among themselves. Eli, perched on Zyra's back, felt a strange pride. He was human. He was small. He was alone. And yet, he was important. That night, as the sun set behind the mountains, Casting the valley in gold and shadow, Eli sat beside Zyra. His legs were tired, his arms sore, but his heart was full. He looked up at the dragon and whispered, I'll try. I'll do whatever it takes to survive. Zyra lowered her massive head and let out a low, rumbling laugh. Good, she said. Because the world you knew is gone, Eli. And the one ahead will need you more than you can imagine. And in that hidden valley, under the glow of a dying sun, a human boy and a dragon queen began an unlikely bond that would change the fate of many worlds. Eli clutched tightly to Zyra's scales as they rose into the sky again. The valley behind them disappeared beneath the clouds, and in its place stretched mountains, rivers, and forests he had never seen before. Each flap of Zyra's wings sent gusts of wind that made his stomach flip, but the boy held on. He had learned something important already. Panic would only make him fall. He had to trust. And right now he trusted Zyra. The journey was long. They crossed jagged cliffs that sliced through the sky, rivers that sparkled like silver under the sun, and forests so thick that even Zyra's massive wings had to be careful not to crush the treetops. Eli's eyes were wide with wonder. He had never imagined a world so large, so alive, so full of creatures both strange and beautiful. Some were small, with wings like butterflies. Others were huge, with horns and claws, watching the sky as if they knew dragons were coming. You must watch everything, Zyra said, her voice deep and commanding. Notice the movement of the trees, the direction of the wind, the way the creatures respond. Survival is not just running or hiding. It is seeing, thinking, and acting before danger finds you. Eli nodded, trying to take it all in. He pointed to a herd of four-legged creatures grazing in a valley below. Why don't they run? He asked. Because they do not sense danger yet, Zyra explained. But you will learn to sense it. Faster than they ever could. Humans, you are clever, Eli. You must use that cleverness to survive. As they flew, Zyra shared lessons in ways only a dragon could. She would suddenly dive, forcing Eli to grab tightly, testing his balance. She would circle a cliff edge, letting him feel the wind change, teaching him how to anticipate it. She taught him to spot danger from far away, the flick of a tail, the shadow of wings, the sound of stones falling. Eli learned quickly. He realized that even though he was small, he could do things the dragons could not. He could see gaps in their logic, anticipate traps, and notice tiny details others missed. He began to understand why Zyra had chosen him. He wasn't strong, but he was smart, brave, and fast. After hours of flying, Zyra landed on a cliff overlooking a wide valley. Below, the ruins of an old dragon city lay scattered. Its towers were cracked, stones missing, but some parts still glowed faintly as if magic had not yet left. Eli stared in awe. Why are we stopping here? He asked. This is where you will begin your real training, Zyra said. Other dragons will watch. They will test you. You will face challenges that even adults fear. And you will have to prove that a human can survive where dragons might fail. Eli's stomach twisted. He had survived the meteors and the fire, but this felt different. This was not about running. This was about standing, thinking, and showing he belonged. That night, Zyra kept watch while Eli slept under her wing. The boy dreamed of fire, flying, and strange creatures. When he woke, he found the valley bathed in the light of dawn. Zyra nudged him gently. Today you will learn how to move unseen. Eli followed her instructions as she led him through the ruined city. They crawled along broken walls, jumped from stones, and hid under shadows. Zyra watched him closely, correcting his movements when needed. You are too loud, she said once. Move like water. Flow around obstacles. Let the world think you are not there. It was hard at first. Eli stumbled, made noise, and nearly fell from a crumbling wall. But with each attempt, he grew steadier. By the afternoon he was moving silently, noticing things Zyra pointed out. A loose stone that might give way, a shadow that hid a hole, a crack in the wall that could be a secret path. As they rested, other dragons began to arrive. They circled above, wings cutting the sky, watching the small human boy with curiosity and suspicion. He cannot survive here, one said. He is fragile. He is weak. Zyra's eyes glowed. He is not weak. Look at him. He thinks. He learns. He survives. That is more than many of you could do. Eli looked up at the dragons, nervous but also proud. He realized something important. He did not have to be big or strong. Being human gave him something else, something dragons often lacked. He had cleverness, courage, and determination. The day ended with a test. Zyra led Eli to a high ledge overlooking a deep ravine. You must jump, she said. Across the gap. No hesitation. Use your mind and your body together. Eli's legs shook. He looked down. The drop was terrifying. But he remembered everything Zyra had taught him. Observe, anticipate, move. He ran forward, timed his leap, and felt the wind lift him. He landed on the other side, heart pounding, breath shaking. Zyra's deep rumble echoed like laughter. Good, she said. You are learning faster than I expected. This is only the beginning, Eli. Only the beginning. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and purple, Eli sat beside Zyra. His arms were sore, his legs tired, but his heart was alive with a new kind of strength. He was still small, still human, still fragile. But he was beginning to understand that being human meant something dragons could not measure, a power of mind, courage, and spirit. And as he looked at Zyra, perched above the valley like a guardian of the world, Eli felt something he had never felt before: hope. Not just for himself but for the journey ahead. A journey where a human boy and a dragon queen could change the fate of all who lived around them. The next morning Eli woke to the sound of wings beating above him. Zyra had been gone, scouting the area, but she returned now, landing with a soft thud that shook the ground beneath him. Today, she said, was the day of the real challenge. Eli's stomach twisted with nerves. He had survived meteors, fire, and a dragon flight, but now he had to face a test that would decide if he truly belonged among dragons. Zyra led him to a wide stone circle, old and cracked, at the center of the ruined valley. Shadows stretched across the stones and strange markings glowed faintly. This is the labyrinth of shadows, Zyra said. It is a place where only dragons have succeeded. Today you will enter. You will find your way to the center and survive every trap along the way. Many adults have failed. Many dragons have turned back. You, she paused, golden eyes locking on him. You will try and I will see what makes you human. Eli swallowed hard. He looked at the labyrinth. It was a maze of walls, pits, moving stones, and hidden dangers. His first instinct was to run away. But then he remembered Zyra's words. Observe, anticipate, survive. He took a deep breath, tightened his small fists, and stepped forward. The walls were taller than any building he had seen. Shadows flickered as if alive. The first trap appeared quickly, a stone bridge over a deep pit, rigged to collapse under too much weight. Eli paused. He could see the small cracks, the loose stones. Instead of panicking, he tested each step, moving slowly, carefully. When he reached the middle, the bridge trembled, but he held steady. A smile flickered across his face. He had made it. The labyrinth was full of surprises. Spinning blades, falling stones, and shifting walls tested his speed and courage. But more than that, it tested his mind. There were puzzles etched into the walls, symbols that required understanding, not strength. Eli used his memory, his logic, and his cleverness to solve them. Each time he succeeded, a glowing mark appeared, guiding him deeper. Outside, Zyra watched with a rumble of satisfaction. Other dragons circled, whispering doubts. He is only a human, one said. He cannot succeed. Another sneered. Even if he survives, what does it matter? Dragons are stronger, faster, smarter. Zyra lifted her wings, creating a shadow over the labyrinth. Watch carefully, she said. Survival is not only strength. It is courage. It is thought. It is heart. You may learn something from him yet. Eli's heart pounded as he reached the final section of the labyrinth. A wall of fire blocked his path. It roared, flames twisting and turning like living snakes. He froze. The other humans would have panicked. He could feel the heat, smell the smoke, taste fear on his tongue. But then he remembered something Zyra had said during their flight. Observe, think, move. Do not fight what you cannot control. He studied the flames. The fire moved in a pattern, curling back on itself, leaving a narrow path that no one would see at first glance. Taking a deep breath, Eli ran. He timed each step perfectly, ducking under flames, jumping over burning patches of stone. Sweat poured down his face, his small body shaking with exhaustion, but he did not stop. Step by step, he reached the other side. When he emerged, he saw Zyra waiting, wings folded, eyes glowing brighter than ever. You did it, she said. You survived where dragons feared to go. You learned to see, think, and act. You are small, but you are brave, clever, human. The other dragons were silent. Their whispers of doubt had vanished. They had watched the human boy succeed where they themselves would have struggled. Some lowered their heads in respect. Others simply stared, trying to understand. Eli felt a strange pride. He was just a boy. Just a human. But he had proven something that no dragon could deny. Humans were special in ways dragons could not measure. Zyra nudged him gently. Do you understand now, Eli? You are not here because you are strong like a dragon. You are here because you are human. That cleverness, courage, and spirit, these are your strengths. You have survived when dragons might have failed. Eli nodded, chest heaving. He had never felt so tired yet so alive. I think I understand, he whispered. I may be small, but I can do more than I thought. Zyra lowered her head closer, letting him rest against her scales. Good. Because this is only the beginning. You will face more challenges. You will meet more dragons. And one day, you may face a choice that will change not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you. Eli looked up at her, golden eyes gleaming in the sunlight. Fear was still there, yes, but it was joined by something new, confidence. He had survived the labyrinth. He had proven himself. And he was beginning to see that being human was not a weakness at all. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the labyrinth in long shadows. Eli stood beside Zyra, looking at the path he had conquered. The walls, the traps, the fire, they had tested him, but they had also taught him something precious. A human's mind, courage, and heart could survive even the deadliest challenges. And in that moment Eli realized something bigger. He was not alone. He had Zyra. He had the dragon's respect. And he had the power to change what the world thought about humans forever. As they left the labyrinth and walked back to the cliff edge, Zyra's wings spread wide. Rest now, Eli. Tomorrow the journey continues. And soon the world will see that humans are not weak. They are remarkable. Eli nodded, looking up at the dragon queen who had chosen him. The challenge had tested him, but it had also awakened something inside him. He was a human boy, small and fragile in appearance, but inside he carried a courage and cleverness that no dragon could match. And he was only beginning to understand how far that power could take him. Years passed and Eli grew taller, stronger, and wiser under Zyra's careful guidance. Though he was still small compared to the dragons, his mind had become sharp, quick, and fearless. He had learned to move silently, think strategically, and face dangers that would terrify even the largest dragons. Every lesson Zyra had taught him had shaped him into something extraordinary, a human who could survive, adapt, and lead. The valley that had once been his sanctuary became a training ground for both dragons and the human boy. Zyra watched proudly as Eli guided younger dragons through lessons of observation, caution, and clever thinking. He discovered ways to use his small size to his advantage, slipping through places dragons could not reach, noticing threats they would never see. The dragons began to respect him not because of strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and determination. Eli also learned to speak to them in ways dragons understood, using patterns of movement, gestures, and sounds. He became a bridge between humans and dragons, showing that size and power were not the only measures of worth. Zyra had chosen wisely, for this human boy was teaching lessons even she had never imagined. One morning the valley was alive with activity. Dragons soared in the skies, practicing flights and maneuvers, while Eli led a group through a maze of stone towers and hidden traps. He smiled as he watched the dragons attempt challenges he had once faced. They struggled, but he guided them, pointing out solutions they could not see. Some dragons lowered their heads in respect, others flapped their wings in excitement. Eli felt pride swell in his chest. This was not just survival, it was mastery. Zyra landed beside him, her massive wings folding gracefully. You have grown, she said, her golden eyes glowing brighter than ever. Not just in skill but in spirit. You are no longer just a human boy. You are a symbol of something greater. Eli looked up at her, unsure what she meant. A symbol? He asked. Yes, Zyra said. A symbol of what humans can do. You survived when dragons feared. You solved challenges that tested not just strength but mind and heart. You have shown that being human is not a weakness, it is a power. Eli thought about the first day he had met Zyra, hiding behind a boulder as meteors rained down. He had been small, scared, and alone. Now he stood beside dragons, respected and trusted, having proven that courage and intelligence could match any scale, claw, or wing. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, casting the valley in gold and shadow, a soft rumble echoed in the distance. One of Zyra's eggs, the one she had kept from before, had finally hatched. A small dragonling, curious and bright-eyed, stepped out into the light. It looked around, blinking at the world it had entered. Eli approached carefully, his hand outstretched. The dragonling sniffed him, then nudged against his palm. Zyra lowered her head beside him. You are its mentor now, she said. Teach it well. Show it that humans are friends, not weaklings. Show it what courage and cleverness can achieve. The dragonling chirped happily and Eli laughed. He realized something important: he had become more than a survivor. He was a teacher, a leader, and a bridge between species. He had learned from Zyra, but now it was his turn to teach. Days turned into weeks, and Eli continued to guide both young dragons and visiting humans from other colonies. Word of the human boy who had survived the catastrophe and gained the Dragon Queen's trust spread across lands and skies. Humans who had once been feared or dismissed were now being watched with new respect. They were small, yes, but capable of things dragons could not imagine. Clever, courageous, and unstoppable in ways the world had never seen. One evening, as Eli and Zyra perched on a cliff overlooking the valley, a group of dragons approached them, bowing their heads. "We have seen what you have done, human," one said. "You have survived, learned, and now teach. You are remarkable." Eli smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. "I am just a boy," he said softly, "but I have learned to survive. And if I can survive, maybe others can too." Zyra rumbled, a sound of agreement and pride. "You have shown the world that humans are not weak. You have changed it forever. Your courage, your mind, your heart, these are the gifts that dragons cannot give, and yet they are the greatest power of all." Eli looked out at the horizon, where mountains met sky, rivers glimmered in the fading sun, and dragons soared freely. He thought of the boy who had hidden behind a boulder, scared and alone. That boy would never believe he could stand here today. And yet here he was. A human boy, now a hero, a teacher, a symbol of what his kind could achieve. The Dragon Queen nudged him gently. "The world is full of dangers," she said, "but also full of hope. And you, Eli, are the proof that even the smallest, most fragile humans can rise to greatness." Eli nodded, feeling the truth of her words settle deep inside him. He was human. He was small. He was different. And that difference was his strength. And so, under the glow of the setting sun, a human boy and the Dragon Queen looked out over a world that had been destroyed, healed, and transformed. Together they had created a legacy of courage, cleverness, and hope. A legacy that would remind everyone, dragon or human, that survival is not just about strength but about heart. And in that quiet, golden moment, Eli realized the truth. Being human was not a weakness at all. It was the greatest power of all.